how to best use displacement maps in Blender. If there's one thing about displacement map, you know that you want to actually displace your physical geometry of your mesh is that you need to add a lot of subdivisions. But this method I'm going to be using, we're going to use the displacement map like a photo scanner, and this is good for things like rocks, ground, gravel, bricks, and all those kind of things. So if we tap into our edit mode, we can see that this is looking like a photo scan, and that is because after the displacement map, we applied everything and then we used a decimate modifier to reduce the actual physical geometry. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that now. So let's hop into a fresh Blender scene. So here we are in a clean Blender scene. We're going to add a plane that we're going to use for this displacement method, and let's just scale it. Let's scale it up. Yeah, always remember to apply your scale. That's very important. So let's add some subdivisions that we'll use for the displacement. Yeah, and this should be good. Now we want to apply the rock material onto this plane, and then we'll now do our displacement with our modifiers. So let's do that. New, and then let's apply the rock material. Now the whole PBR rock material has been applied to the plane. Let's fix the UVs a little bit. So let's just fix that immediately. Yeah. Now we're going to go into the modifier and use this displacement map to actually displace the geometry of the plane. You can see now the plane has no displacement. The plane is just flat. So we're going to use the displacement map to actually displace the physical geometry of this plane. So to do that, going to our modifiers, we'll add a displace modifier, a new one, and then we'll go into our texture settings, and then we'll add the displacement map that we got from this our PBR texture. So displacement map, I can see something is happening. Something is happening. We're going to change the coordinates from local to UV, because remember, is our UV we used to apply the textures onto this object. And then yeah, now you can see that the amount of geometry we have, that is, we have 15,972,000 triangles, and it's not still enough to get good displacement on this plane object. So we're going to now add a subdivision surface modifier, and we're going to take the subdivision surface above the displacement. So we subdivide before we displace, and you can see something is starting to happen. If we increase it, the more we increase it, the more our system choke. Now we can see we're on 4 million, sorry, triangles, and you can see that displacements are looking good. Let's take it a notch. Let's take it to 1 million, and then we can also increase the strength of the displacement a little bit so we can see what's going on. Now we can see that the plane is displaced. If we go into the rendered preview, we can see that we don't just have the texture, we also have physical displacement. Now 1 million triangles just for this is too much, because let's face fact, if we were building like a whole scene, if each plane was having up to 1 million vertices just for displacement, then our scene is going to be choked up. So now we want to cut this down, and the best way to cut this down is by using a decimate modifier. So when we already have the displacement looking how we want it to look, then we apply it. So we apply the subdivision first, then we apply the displace modifier, and now everything is baked. This whole detail is baked. We have 1 million triangles here, and now we want to cut that down significantly while still maintaining the displacement details. So what we use to do that is a decimate modifier. So we add a modifier and then decimate. Now we want to choose collapse, and we want to reduce this ratio so that you'll be able to have, so that your system doesn't choke. Don't reduce this ratio while you are still previewing the decimate modifier, because as you start reducing it, your system starts automatically calculating. So a quick tip, or a tip that you should know, is that always turn it off in your viewport. Turn off the decimate in your viewport while adjusting the decimates. So after you turn off the decimate in your viewport, then we can now reduce the ratio. And we want to take this very low because we want to cut down these vertices so much. So, and then when you press the view back button, it's now going to load. So let's do that. And yeah, it has loaded. We can see we have been able to cut it down to 1009 vertices, and we can see that it has lost a little bit of detail. So we can be adjusting the ratio of this decimate modifier to kind of find the balance in which you want, to kind of find the best way the displacement looks good and with the less amount of vertices we can use. As for me, I still want to make it look a little bit good. So let's hide this and let's also increase again just a little bit. And yeah, let's preview that. Yeah, we can see now on at 174,000 vertices, and it's quite like you can't really notice the difference except you really like except you're really zooming into it. So with this set, let's apply this decimate modifier. And yeah, we're looking good, we're looking Gucci, everything is set now. So if we go into the rendered preview, we can see it's still the same texture, and then he has the displacement, and we have cut it down from 1 million vertices to just 1,007 for 1,000. Sorry, I say 1,000, 174,000 vertices. And yeah, that is looking nice. You can tap into edit mode, and you can see that right here is looking as a photo scan will look. And that's just a nice trick or a neat trick you can use for your displacement maps to get that physical geometry displacement with actual less vertices or actual less subdivisions. Yeah, so if you learned something new, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and until next time, peace.